Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fandom Minutes. I'm Mike.
And I'm Matt.
And today we got a very special video. Have you ever wondered what could have been? Have you ever wondered, what if? Well, today we got a good scenario for you here. And I believe Matt has got a video prepared for us.
I do, yes. So I went ahead and did some research, and my what if is about what if during the Star Wars saga Luke had ended up deciding to go to the dark side. So it kind of plays out interesting in these two fan theories. One of them is actually based on a comic called The Dark Empire, while another one is a fan theory. So it's really interesting, and it's definitely an interesting idea. Like, what if Luke had gone dark instead of, defeating the Emperor and staying light the whole time? So here's our video for that, and I think you guys will really enjoy it.
So today we're going to be talking about what if Luke Skywalker went to the dark side. So there's actually a comic about this that I didn't realize even existed, and it's called The Dark Empire, and it completely goes over what if Luke went to the dark side. So that's I'll get into that in a second. There's a couple theories. One of them is he ends up working with Darth Vader. So he ends up working with Darth Vader, and he doesn't completely go to the dark side, but he learns how to use the dark side. So he gets with Darth Vader and agrees to let Darth Vader train him, and Darth Vader teaches him the ways of the Force. So he teaches him how to use the Force like Luke has never learned before. So it makes Yoda's training look like preschool. Pretty much Vader puts him through the ropes and completely just breaks him down and really teaches him completely every form of lightsaber training, all the different forms of the Force, both light and dark, and Luke just becomes super powerful. Well, because he's learning the dark side, Luke ends up every night meditating super hard to get to where he can control his anger and everything, because obviously the dark side brings on anger and hatred and all that. And so what he does is he meditates, tapping into the light force, and kind of finds this balance and becomes a gray Jedi. So that's one theory. Anyways, so it continues on, and he finishes his training, and he comes to the Emperor with Vader, and they were going to take him down. And of course, it kind of goes the same way as the movie did. And, the Emperor's like, listen, I already know about your training because I'm connected to my Padawan, which is Vader, plus you, because I'm really strong in the Force. And so, yeah, I kind of already knew what was going on. And so, long story short, he goes, strike me down, and you're going to end up being in the dark side. And so, with Luke learning that, yeah, he might not be in the dark side because he's a great Jedi, he ends up trying to strike down the Emperor, but ends up being mad. The Emperor acts like it's him, but it was actually Vader, and so Luke ends up stabbing Vader on accident, and thinking it's the Emperor he's stabbing. And come to find out, it was Vader, so Vader's dying again. And so the Emperor starts laughing, yada, yada, yada. And he ends up beating Luke up really bad in this theory. And he gets his eyes gouged out with lightning, and can barely see, almost not at all. And anyways, Vader's dying over in the corner. And Luke is about to pass out. Next thing you know, he's looking through lenses. And what's happened is Darth Vader has given him his helmet, and it's helping him see better because it's fixing his eyes. And he's got Vader's gloves on, and so Vader's kind of giving him a little bit of stuff while the Emperor's about to kill him. And so he sees what Vader's done and electrocutes and almost kills Vader. So Vader's pretty much dead. But pretty much where he was in the movie. And so with the new gloves on and the helmet where you can actually see again, he is able to really tap into the full Force. So both light and dark really becomes super powerful, and ends up killing and stabbing the Emperor. And so the Emperor is dying, and then he uses the Force to lift the Emperor up and throw him over the cliff again. I mean, into the the void. the shaft, as it were. And anyways, that ends up killing the Emperor, like in the movie. And then he goes to Vader, just like in the same old, and he comes to Vader, and he sees the look in his eye of appreciation and proudness, and he goes, "My son," and then passes away. And Luke goes on to continue his training and become super powerful, and, everything else kind of plays out the same way as it does in the movies. The other theory, so that was just a theory. The next one comes from a comic book, which kind of is its own theory, called The Dark Empire. And this one is where I believe it takes place 5 years after the Battle of Endor. Yeah, I think it was 5 years after the Battle of Endor. And needless to say, Vader ends up dying, but the Emperor is still alive. And come to find out, it plays out a lot like The Last Jedi, or what was the last one? Was it The Last Jedi? Anyways, whatever the last movie was, where the Emperor was a clone. Spoiler alert. I'm sure you guys have already seen it. But anyways, where the Emperor was a clone, the idea probably came from this comic, because in this comic, the Emperor has been transferring his body to younger and younger bodies, and then they just wear out, and then he does it again. He's been doing it for a long time. So he's used the cloning technology from the Clone Wars to clone himself. And so every time he about dies, he just transfers his consciousness to a younger, thing. So anyways, in this one, Luke is about to strike down the Emperor, and he transfers his body to a young body, and pretty much has Luke under the lightsaber. And Luke knows, I'm going to die. Let's go ahead and, kind of play him a little bit and work for him and become his Padawan, and I'll learn from him and then maybe strike him down later, I think was his original plan. So he kneels to the Emperor and says, "I will be your Padawan." The Emperor's like, "Yes." And so anyways, he trains the Emperor. The Emperor teaches him. He starts going dark, and his eyes are turning yellow. He's becoming a Sith. And this continues on. Well, Leia, being Force sensitive, as we learned in the last trilogy, starts sensing it, and sensing that Luke is going evil. He hasn't seen his his friends in like 5 years, so they don't know what's going on. And Leia starts sensing it in her brother, and so she goes to check it out. And she comes in with the Millennium Falcon, all heroic, and finds Luke. And she convinces Luke, like this isn't the right thing. And so, anyways, turning Luke back pretty much. And Luke goes, okay, well, I got to destroy all these clones before I can kill the Emperor. So he goes to the clone place and is about to destroy all the clones, really close. And he pretty much destroys all of them except for one, and he gets transferred again into this brand new body, super strong. And so he's kind of back where he was at the beginning of the comic. He ends up fighting the Emperor again, and he ends up winning this time because of all of his training. So he's able to tap into both the light and the dark, kind of like in the other theory, and he is to beat the Emperor even in his younger body this time around because he knows more. And destroys the other clones. And so after that, he leaves with Leia. And as he's leaving on the Millennium Falcon, his eyes slowly switch back to blue, and he becomes normal again. But this time he knows, like in the other theory, both the light and the dark side. And he's way more powerful, and pretty much kind of ends the same way. But without the Emperor, doing what he did, it kind of makes me wonder if the next three trilogy will work out. Well, in the comic, it never says that all of the clones are destroyed. But the comic hints that there might be more clones somewhere else. And so it's kind of leads open that the Emperor might still be alive somewhere else. But Luke thinks he's killed him. Long story short, kind of goes into the next movies again. And the Emperor has in fact cloned himself. And being kept alive by a machine this time. Maybe it was his last clone or something. I don't know. Long story short, still works with all the movies. And I think it'd be cool to make that into a movie. But wouldn't really make sense now with how everything went and how Luke went into hiding. So it doesn't really match that anymore, but, change that, and after this, maybe he went into hiding, so technically it could still work. But I think it's a fun theory, and I wanted to give you guys a couple theories I found, and I thought it was a fun what if. In my opinion, I think it would go more with Not so much him training under the Emperor. I think he would probably train under Vader in secret, more like the first theory. That makes more sense than the comic book. And I think that would have been really cool if they'd done that. They could even make a movie about it now, and still make it tie in. I think that would be so cool if he learned both sides and really, really became a great Jedi. I mean, he was a great Jedi in the new trilogy, but it could have been even better.
So what'd you think?
It's pretty interesting, honestly. I definitely like the first theory better. Um, it's got a little more meaning to it. I feel
Right.
like. I feel like training under his father makes a lot more sense than training under the person who pretty much has ruined his entire life in a way.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of I like that idea. I actually like it. Um, and the thought of how powerful it would make him in the long run
Right.
um, would make sense with how powerful he is now, possibly even more powerful. Um, and then it makes me think of like other Jedi who've used the light and dark, like Mace Windu,
Yeah,
and
it actually
how
talked
they
about that
always
theory.
they always talk about that. So it kind of makes me think of that, and you know, would it have been the same situation, same kind of scenario for that, or would that be would it be something different? But yeah, I like that theory. The second theory, I mean, it kind of leads into the movies, but I definitely gotta say the first theory sounds more believable and, in my opinion, more enjoyable to
Comic.
watch.
So I'm wondering if any of this was pulled for the last movie, if any of that was pulled from the comic, because they've had both the Emperor cloning himself and the Force projection in that comic.
It's true. It's very true. I'd imagine it probably had some kind of influence on it, but again, it would be really cool to see this turn into a movie, or
Right.
even like one of those little animated things, like the Clone Wars and all that.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see it in that style, even honestly. Um, I don't know. I really like that
Right.
theory. It adds that much more layer to the story. Really,
Yeah.
I feel like, and in a movie setting or in a uh, TV setting or something, it feels like it would give it a lot more stakes to it.
Yeah.
The potential for him to go bad and stay that way,
Uh huh.
like his dad started to, for
Yep.
all those years. Um, yeah, it's interesting to think.
Yeah.
And
I like that he had to in that first theory he had to meditate every night just to keep himself from going to dark.
yeah, and I like that they threw that in there because that,
Yeah.
something like that would take a toll on you,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, and a lot of people, um, when you think about people that play the bad guy in a movie or things like that, it's so much easier and so much more fun to be a bad guy. People say,
Mm-hmm.
and so you would definitely have to do the meditation. You'd have to fight to keep that from being, becoming your normal, you
Yeah.
know. So it's a pretty cool theory. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode of the Fandom Minutes. Be sure to join us next week. Matt, you want to let them know what we got?
Okay, so next week's gonna be pretty interesting. So actually, Brian and I are Twitch streamers, and Brian's already become affiliate, which is super awesome. I'm very proud of him. And I'm on the road to becoming an affiliate through Twitch. So if you guys want to check us out, watch next week's episode. Brian goes under Spartan1803, and my username is NoxDrakon. So next week we're going to be showing you guys some clips from our streams that we think are either funny, action-packed, or interesting, and kind of give you guys a little heads up about what our next thing's about. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe, and also leave in the comment section what you'd like to see out of a fandom that you might like us to discuss.
See you guys next week.
Stay safe out there.